This is Evan Talks podcast, where we talk and share our mental health journey every other Monday. Our goal is to break the stigma of mental health and to help people along the way. Subscribe and be a part of this awesome new journey. So, welcome back to Evan Talks, and this is episode 4, and I'm very lucky to be doing the first face-to-face chat with my best friend, James Williamson, who has driven to Birmingham on a very wet and windy Storm Dennis weekend to go through all of this. So welcome, James.
How's it?
So James and I have known each other for going on 12 years now.
I think so. No, 13.
13 years now, yeah. And James previously worked in the coffee shop that I managed.
Yeah,
or no,
for you.
Not for me.
Yeah, you were my manager, I think, first.
I wasn't a very good manager, but yes.
For the record, he was awful.
And that's why I don't do management anymore. Management of people, at least. So James has been kind enough to come and talk about how my mental health potentially affected him while I was going through some stuff. But also some things maybe you've learnt after dealing with it. So we'll just go right into it. So I guess you knew me when you were about, 18, 17?
Yeah, so I'm 30. It's probably about 17. Yeah, 17, 18.
And I think probably the first experience of my episodes was when you're closer to 18, 19.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I think at the time then I didn't have a clue what mental health was.
No?
No. So I probably didn't actually know of what was happening until probably a lot later on, I think.
Yeah, so when we were probably closer, when I wasn't your manager anymore.
Yeah.
And we actually more became friends rather than work colleagues. And when I had that first episode that you can remember, I don't know which one that might have been, how did that change your perception on mental health? Did it prompt you to start researching? And
I don't remember the first time that you had an episode.
Right, okay.
Honestly, don't have a
because there's
clue
been
when
that
it was.
many.
Probably, but I think because you're the first person that I encountered with mental health trouble, I can't. The only one that sticks in my head, and on the questions that you sent out previous, was the one where you ended up in hospital.
Right.
It's the only one that I remember.
Okay.
The first one, anyway. Obviously, since then, I know you're down and your low periods, but it is the first one that I actually remember thinking, "Oh, I'm involved in this."
Yeah. And what did that make you feel or think? Or
Well, I think at the time I was trying to make dinner, so I mean that ruined the dinner plans. But yeah, probably petrified actually.
Yeah.
Because I didn't know anything about mental health, and we ended up in that environment. Whilst I was scared for you, but also I didn't have a clue what was happening.
Right. And it was quite normal for me to be in that environment because I've been in there a few times.
Yeah, but I think it did that. I don't know whether it was the only time that I ended up in that environment with you. I'd been around you when you had low episodes.
Yeah.
But I can't recall them. I can only recall what your mood was like.
Right. And what was that?
Well, it just non-existent.
Yeah.
Couldn't talk to you. Didn't see you.
Yeah, so that whole locking myself away.
Yeah.
So James and I lived together for a few years.
Yeah, 3-4 years
Yeah.
probably.
Yeah, and in that period, I suppose that was probably when you got used to the, I'm not going to socialise, I'm not going to talk to you, come home, lock myself away.
Yeah, I think probably the most prevalent thing with it was I'd come home, you'd come home, I wouldn't see you, and then either probably, I think it was more so the next day, we'd talk about it and you'd say, I've been to B&Q, for example, to buy stuff, to try and do something, but you'd always stop yourself doing it. But I would never know at the time, I would always know after you'd come out of the low episode. And then you would be how confident, well, not confident, but find it easier to talk about it.
Yeah, so I suppose that's something I've learned, is that it's a lot more difficult to talk about it when you're in the mood, when you're in that episode. And that's probably when you need to talk a little bit more.
Yeah.
Because talking to somebody kind of helps normalize what you're going through and also kind of rationalize what you're going through. So the voices in my head that are telling me I'm not good enough, that I'm not worth being around, all that sort of stuff, those voices become a little bit quieter when I'm talking to somebody like you, a friend, and I'm able to actually say, well, that's not normal. That's not, it's not normal. It's not right, maybe, because it's not, there's no foundation for that. There's no facts that say, Evan, everyone will be better off if you're not around.
But I don't think, I think at the time we didn't actually talk about it that much. We didn't talk about the root problem as to why you were feeling that way. We talk about the fact that you stopped it and that you had a low episode.
Yeah.
But I don't think we actually sat down and, I knew the history of it because you told me before. But I think we talked more about the fact that you managed to get yourself out of it rather than, because even you've said in the past, they trigger more when things are going right for you, normally when things are going wrong. So at the high periods in your life is when you would be more susceptible to having these episodes.
Yeah, and I think that's that whole not being good enough.
Yeah.
So the self-esteem part of it. So if something is going right, then there's that like big red self-destruct button that I tend to push.
Yeah.
And then push people away and make it harder for me. So that's interesting that you only remember the one or you don't really remember them as badly as I remember them. Because I think in my head, it's like, oh, you're going to hate me for the rest of your life type thing.
I think in your head, you almost made it out to be a bigger issue than what it actually was. And because I lived with you for so long, and prior to living with you, we were still best friends. I didn't see it as a bigger issue as what, and I think that's probably what might have made it harder for you to talk about it and maybe me to deal with it. But the biggest one was taking you to hospital, and I think you actually made the point of asking me to take you there.
Yeah.
And it wasn't me saying I'm going to take you. I think at that time you actually almost cried out for help, and you wanted me, whereas previously you weren't asking me to be around.
Yeah.
Not because you didn't want me to be around, but I think because you were just happy being by yourself. But I think on that occasion, you were so deep into a bad place, you needed someone to essentially pull you out.
Yeah.
And I didn't do anything, as I was just there, and I took you there. And
that's doing something.
Yeah.
That's doing something. When you're in that place, it is weird how just having somebody in the room or having somebody sat with you in a waiting room of a hospital can mean absolutely everything because you're not going through that by yourself. And I think if I didn't ask you to take me, I don't think I would have ever gotten there.
No.
And then that would have been a lot worse, I think, at that particular time. Because the times that I've asked for help have been the times when I honestly think that I can't be trusted to help myself.
Yeah.
So, yeah. And that was tough. So, I guess, how do you find it as being a friend of some, and I don't think we've ever really had this discussion, but how do you find it being a friend of somebody who does that occasionally, who pushes people away, who locks himself away, who doesn't necessarily want to communicate? It's difficult.
Yeah. I think most people can't deal with it, don't know how to deal with it, and I think I only dealt with it because I was living with you. And I think probably looking back, if we hadn't lived with each other, because my understanding and experience of it was pretty non-existent, I probably would have pushed you away as much as what you pushed me. But I think because we live together, it's different.
Okay, that's a good point. Because you experienced, it wasn't me just flaking on you, it was me genuinely locking myself away. So you know that when that happens, when I don't turn up on something or if I don't do something that I say I'm going to do, it's probably a genuine reason for it.
Yeah, and I don't think it's difficult to find all the examples, isn't it? But if you had ever said, actually, I don't want to do anything this evening, or we were going to go out, go to the cinema or something like that, I don't think I ever kind of pried into it and said, why aren't we going? Because I think at the time I just knew that something's not quite right. I'd always tell if your bedroom door was shut.
Yeah.
Because your bedroom door was always open.
Yeah. Yeah.
But I knew the right time to open your bedroom door when you were in there.
Right, okay.
That sounds worse than what it was supposed to cover. But I knew the time when actually, no, just leave you alone.
Yeah.
And if I could hear you moving around, then it was fine. Then I knew things were okay. It was, I think, when living with someone, when they're in those episodes, you don't want to disrupt, but you need to hear something moving around, shuffling around.
Yeah.
Even going to the toilet and just hearing it flush, I was like, okay, well, he's fine.
Yeah. He's still having bowel movements.
Yeah. Oh, and then I knew not to go to the toilet for a while. So.
No, that's good. Okay. So now, having experienced what you've experienced with me, do you think it will make it easier for you if you met somebody in the future who was going through things? I mean, only if they were open about it, because if they don't share with you, then you can't really...
Potentially. I still don't think I know how to deal with it, but at least I've had some experience. And I think what you need to do is just give someone space and know when to talk to them. I think what it does more, it helps if you, like in our scenario, it's probably helped me more with my own mental health.
Okay.
Because I've experienced it firsthand.
Right.
You know, we all have off days and bad days, don't we?
Yeah.
And some of them are worse than others. But it's just being there for someone and knowing that if they want to talk, that they'll actually talk to you.
Yeah, yeah. And if they don't want to talk, but they just want to sit in the room with somebody.
Yeah, you know, I think it's okay that sometimes if you come home from work in the evening, I think it's okay if you don't want to talk to someone.
Yeah.
But I think if you do that every day of the week, that's an issue.
Yeah, fair enough.
And I think you were getting to that point.
Yeah, when I get really bad, it can be... I mean, I've had I think that episode that we were talking about where I ended up asking you to take me to hospital, that was like a 2.5 week period before we even went to the hospital.
Yeah.
And that's a long run.
But I don't remember the details prior to going to hospital, and I don't remember anything after it. And when you think about it, it's not that long ago.
No.
Really, you know, it's in the last 10 years, and something as major as that, you'd think that you remember. But I don't.
No.
And I think it's because I was I was experiencing it so much that only the kind of standout highlight parts are the bit that I remember.
I remember you being very quiet.
I didn't know what to do.
No, exactly. Yeah, I know. Yeah, I know. So, I don't know what I was expecting, and I don't know what I expect of anyone really, because I'm going through it, and my brother. You haven't heard the episode yet, but
no.
in the next episode, or in episode 2, my brother talks about just being somebody's ring. Person in their corner of the ring. Like, so if you're talking about, so mental health is like a boxing scenario, and your friends and family are the people in the ring, and you just need to know that they're there and that you got the right people in your corner, and that was perfect, and that was what you were for me that day, was just being the person in the ring for me, because obviously my parents weren't over this side of the world, and I didn't have anyone close in my life other than you, and so it was the right person being in the right corner for me.
But that's what you need, though, sometimes, isn't it? Because, you know, when you were having those bad periods, we didn't need to sit down and, you know, spend the whole evening talking or anything. But if we met on the landing or in the kitchen, that was probably enough, for both of us, for you to realise that actually I'm still there. And if you need to talk, and me knowing that, oh, you know, it was getting that bad, that you're still alive.
Yeah.
Because the thing that was always on the back of my mind was, am I going to come home to you being there but not being alive?
Yeah.
And that's the hardest thing to deal with, because at the time, obviously, your parents were in South Africa.
Yeah.
And I knew that if anything did happen, I'd have to be the ones telling your parents. And I think that was the bit that I would have struggled the most with.
Yeah. And I suppose the rational side of me in my darkest times would be thinking about those conversations that you would have to have, and me realizing that actually I don't want my parents, or I don't want you to have those conversations, but I also don't want my parents to find out about it like that, and be in another country and be away from
and
I think it would just cause chaos. Maybe it wouldn't, but I would think it would. And yeah, so it was those kinds of things that would like pop in just before I'm about to do something stupid, and make me realise, actually, I don't want to put James in that position. I don't want to put Andy or Darren, who were living with us at that time, in that position. So I suppose it's good to know that there's that rational element that occasionally just pops in and reminds me that don't be doing the thing that you want to do right now, because you're going to regret it in the future.
Yeah, but it's not a bad thing that if it takes... Well, it is a bad thing, but if it takes you a couple of days to get to that point and realise in your head, no, I'm going to stop myself, at least you've stopped yourself.
Yeah.
And there are so many people that don't stop themselves for whatever reason.
But I think part of me feels like a lot of the men that are going through this at the moment and aren't being able to stop themselves, or it's because they haven't opened up to somebody initially. So I think I was quite honest with you in the beginning when we first met, or maybe not when we first met because I was your boss, but later on when we became friends, I told you about the depression and all that sort of stuff before you had experienced a bad episode, so it wasn't a complete shock. Whereas I think a lot of people that go through with it, when you speak to their friends and families, they think, I never knew there was anything wrong. And they say that.
Yeah.
Well, if your first clue to there being something mentally wrong with somebody is that they've committed suicide, then you've got no hope of figuring it out.
Yeah, but also, I think probably 3 or 4 years back, I was probably mentally in a pretty dark place. And if you look at essentially my CV of mental health knowledge with you, it's quite extensive.
Yes.
But that doesn't, I didn't recognise any of those traits in me at the time, and couldn't self-help myself. That's the thing. So just because you've been subjected to it doesn't mean that you're the founder of all the knowledge and you know how to deal with it, because you don't. And that's probably one of the biggest issues.
Yeah, and every case is going to be unique.
Yeah.
So maybe what you went through wasn't necessarily what I go through, and how you managed to help yourself wouldn't have necessarily been the way that I help myself. So it's about everyone figuring out what's going to work for them. And I think what helped me in those situations was having a plan or having a mood diary. So thinking through, if I'm feeling this low, what am I going to do to make myself better? And part of it was force myself to do stuff that I don't necessarily want to do.
Yeah.
Like going out and being social. Cause,
well, I remember on the Sunday when we used to go to the cinema and we'd do the double movies.
Yes.
And I remember at the time thinking, if we can do a double movie, I can get you out of the house longer.
Yeah.
And taking things off your mind. Because I knew if we went back, we'd go out and watch one movie, and you'd go back and you'd almost retreat back into your
safe space.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And your safe space was always the bedroom with the door shut.
Yeah. Still is.
Yeah.
Even when I live alone.
Yeah.
The door still gets shut.
But when the door's shut, no one knows what's going on.
No.
And then, maybe a small thing would be to have the door open but still be in your
safe space.
Just so that other people around you know that you're actually okay.
Yeah.
Because it's the unknown when you live with someone or know someone or someone that's close to you that's going through that and you don't know.
Yeah. Whereas
if the door's open but there is still an imaginary door closed, you know not to cross that boundary, but at least you can see.
And I think Rachel, who I lived with after I lived with you, I think she would agree with you on that, because there was a bad period when I was at Twickenham and I actually did do something and nobody really knew about it. And I remember her coming into my room that night that I'd done something, and she had knocked on my room door and come in and said she was worried about me. But little did she know that I'd actually taken far too many tablets that night.
Yeah.
And the whole conversation was kind of a bit of a blur. I just remember her sitting on my bed and saying that she's worried about me, and then her walking out. But that her coming in prompted me to go and get some water.
Yeah.
And to kind of try and dilute what I'd done. I'm not saying I probably would have died otherwise, but I'm just saying it was like one of those moments when I realised, actually, you know what, somebody actually does care.
Yeah.
So stop what you're doing, or try and make it better, or go and force yourself to be sick, or do something to change what you've done.
Yeah, but in those scenarios, you hear so many people say, "Oh, people care about you. You're valued," and at the time, you don't want to hear that.
No.
That's not going to help someone. Whereas seeing someone walk past a landing or in the office space, on the street, something like that, even just popping your head in and saying hello and knowing that you're still there, you don't need to run in and jump on someone. And
no. You save that for Friday nights.
Friday nights after a few drinks, regardless of whether you're asleep or not. At that time, that was appropriate for me to do that.
Yeah.
Whether the door was shut or not.
You were coming in. Yeah.
And that's why my statement earlier about knowing when to run in the bedroom that's where that kind of came from.
Okay.
Just to clarify that.
Okay. So I guess if you met somebody now and they said, "Oh, you know what? I listened to you on that Evan Talks podcast."
Oh, the
and
famous person.
Yeah. And I've got a friend who's going through something. What should I do? What sort of advice would you give them?
Listen.
All
you need to do is just sit there and listen. And then I think sit and listen and just make that person aware that if they want to talk, that they can talk. I think the biggest thing that I learned with you was if you weren't in the right space, the last thing that you needed was me prying and asking questions.
Yeah.
Because if you want to talk about it, you would come and talk to me. And actually, I think that's the same with most people. If something is really griping someone, they will come and talk.
Yes.
But you don't need to force it on someone because some people aren't ready to talk about it.
Yeah.
And to talk about their personal story and what they've been through. And, you know, I've probably put myself in that camp. I'm not ready to talk about what I've been through.
No.
But at the time, I knew that if there was, for you, for example, I think I've told you, like, in the past, I'm not feeling particularly great.
Yeah.
We would never talk about why I wasn't feeling great. But knowing that actually you were there just in case, I think that's the biggest thing.
So just reassuring somebody that you're there makes the difference, doesn't it?
Yeah. Even, you know, it's on your first podcast, just checking in and saying hello. Or if you live with someone, popping your head through that door.
Yeah.
Or banging on the door, just making sure. Irritating that person so you get a response out of them.
Yeah.
But not in a bad way. Because we you know, people that are on the other side of it, so you need reassurance that people are there for you. But if you know someone that's going through those bad episodes, you need reassurance from them.
That they want to.
That A, that they know that you're there, and B, that actually they still essentially want to fight for their life.
Yeah. That's very good. That's very true. Just being there and listening. So, I guess now, I like to just, when I have somebody as a guest, ask what you would have, in hindsight, do you think you would have done anything differently, knowing what you know now? When we were sat in that hospital, do you think there was anything you could have done differently? Or you should have done differently?
I probably would have tried to have taken you there sooner. And I think, looking back, I would have made sure that, for example, your bedroom door was open.
Okay.
In that, you know, and that, I keep coming back to that. But at least then if I walked past,
you would know.
I would know that you're okay.
Yeah.
Because that was the hard bit. If you were having, because you wouldn't answer your phone, you wouldn't come down. I think there are evenings where you wouldn't even eat, or you'd have like snacks in your room, and you wouldn't come downstairs.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I think that's what.
I didn't realise it was that tough having the dog. I didn't realise that made such a barrier for you.
Well, I didn't have a clue what was happening.
Yeah.
And that's the thing.
Yeah. I mean, he's been alone in that room for 3 days. What is he doing? Like that's.
But it would be days at the weekend. It would be I'd see you on a Friday night, and then I might not see you until the Sunday. And you don't need your bedroom door shut all day.
No, you don't.
You don't. I mean, if you work with someone and their office door is shut all day, then you start thinking, why is their door shut? Yeah. Something's going on, and that's in the workplace.
Yeah.
So if you think that in the workplace, you don't, you know, it's the same. It's worse at home, isn't it? Having your bedroom door shut all the time. Unless you live with particularly horrible people. But I'd like to think that I was a Class A housemate.
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, those 2 o'clock in the morning wake-up calls.
They're priceless.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
That's something I wake up and miss.
But they were me jumping on you.
Yeah.
You're just like a comfy person. Just like snuggling up to you. That's the thing.
I've got padding. Oh. That's amazing. So I think, that's what I really wanted to kind of talk to today. I mean, do you want to give any other pearls of wisdom?
I don't have wisdom.
You do have wisdom.
I don't.
You do.
No. I think just understand everyone deals with it in a different way. And some people aren't ready to talk about it. And the people that are ready to talk about it, you have to go at their pace.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
So let's think about the challenge for this week then, because I've started doing challenges for people.
Yeah.
So this week, I guess the challenge would be just making sure you keep your door open.
Yeah. Or if you live with someone, actually open their door.
Yeah.
Pop your head in and just say hello.
Yeah. Yeah.
I always think about that time on Friends where they were doing the Thanksgiving and they popped their head in and Chandler got it stuck. Do you remember? Yeah. And I just
You're talking about they got their head stuck in the turkey.
No, the door.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, and I just, just do that. Put your head in. Don't get it stuck.
Okay.
Because that causes problems for both parties.
Right, okay. Yeah.
But yeah, open the door, pop your head in, and just say hello.
Great. So that's the challenge, people. So if you...
But do it at the appropriate time, people. I think there is a time and place to be doing that.
Don't just go opening people's doors.
Or strangers' doors.
Yeah.
I mean, that's... If you're staying in a hotel, my advice would be not to do that.
Just ask for different...
Or car doors.
Or car doors.
Yeah, don't open people's car doors.
I mean, you could get arrested.
You could. So let's keep this safe, people.
So we're talking housemates, people you live with, those sorts of people. And, I mean, you could just do a courtesy knock before you open the door, just in case.
You could.
Yeah.
But knock and open. So do a knock and then just open, I think.
Okay.
Don't wait for that response.
You've given them a whole 2 seconds to adjust if they needed to adjust.
Yeah.
Cool.
But there's no way that you would have responded to me, so I'd have opened that door anyway.
Yeah, that's the other thing. I mean,
and you go back and think about Rachel though. If she'd have just walked in that door earlier, or knocked on that door, popped her head in, she could have seen you before you took those tablets. Because the end story could have been really different. You know, I
think her coming in general, regardless of the timing, I think that made the difference.
Yeah.
I don't think they were in the house. To be fair, when I actually did it, I wouldn't have done it while they were in the house. I think they were out. But the fact that she did come in, and I think she did knock, and I didn't answer, and she still came in. So that
proves the point, though, doesn't it? From what I'm saying,
Yeah.
Just knock. Sometimes you need to do it, and you don't have to do it every day, because if you know when someone's having a bad time, and just pick and do it then.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, so challenge: open doors, talk to people, and make somebody's bad episode or low episode that little bit easier potentially by doing so. So thanks, James.
Thank you
for this episode. I think we've stuck under the half an hour rule. Once we do some editing, we'll definitely be under the half an hour rule.
I shall send my invoice to you.
Okay, great. Yep. Thank you.
I actually come up to spend time with Evan today, and I've spent the last 2 hours cleaning out his fish tank.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm now doing a podcast.
Yeah.
So thanks very much. I look forward to your invoice. Thank you everyone for listening. I mean, if you've made it through from episode 1 to episode 4, sure, you deserve a badge. Drop me an email.
Will there be badges?
There will be badges.
Was there?
No, there won't be
I think
badges.
we should have badges.
Okay.
I think your challenge, Evan, is to get badges.
Okay, all right. So if you send me a message and let me know if you want a badge.
Yes.
I will make that happen.
What size badges will they be?
I think just normal or
just
pin
small,
badges.
Pin badge, yeah.
Pin badge, little blue ones.
Wear them with pride.
Yeah. Evan talked badges. I listen. He talks. That sort of thing. Okay, we're going to stop now before we say anything else and we drink more cider. So thanks very much for listening, and I will be back in 2 weeks with my next episode, which is another interview with a really great guy called Mark, who I caught up with earlier on this week, and we'll be chatting a little bit more about his experiences in that episode. So thanks very much, James. I really do appreciate it, and for cleaning the fish tank. Yeah. And thanks everyone for listening. Thanks very much.
Goodbye.
Bye. Thank you for listening to Evan Talks, and if you haven't already, please subscribe and share it with your friends and family. All the links to the topics are on the socials, and if you want to talk and share, please get in touch. Be kind to yourself and each other until the next time.